So how can you do things that you don't want to do, you find boring, they're tedious, but you gotta do them? Hi guys, I'm Evie. I have a science degree in psychology and I've been coaching people for the past 3 years. So in this video, I'm gonna show you 2 major brain hacks that you can use that do work and you don't need any motivation for any of them. Alright, so we're gonna divide this into 2 different types of tedious tasks. The first one is the mental one. Let's say you have to do homework or write the report for work. Anything that requires your mental activity and you find boring as hell. In the second part of the video, we're gonna talk about tedious tasks that are more motor skills, like cooking, doing your laundry, things that you find boring again, but they don't really require your focus. How do you make yourself study or do this tedious report for work without any motivation? And here we're gonna have 2 types of people. We're gonna have, number 1, people who do have some sort of self-discipline, and number 2, not self-discipline whatsoever. Let's say you have some sense of self-discipline. Your name is John and you love playing video games. Alright, do this for 30 minutes. Nothing more, nothing less. And immediately after you do the 30 minutes playing video games activity, you're gonna hop on that boring activity. Why? Because the good positive chemicals that get released in your brain during the nice activity stay in your brain for longer than the actual activity, which means you put yourself in a good mood and you start the boring thing while you are in the good mood, which tricks your brain to start associating doing the boring thing with feeling good. This is the opposite of what most people do. Most people try to convince themselves to do something. They try to push through the struggle. They already don't like the activity and they force the activity on themselves. And one of the hardest things on earth is to force yourself to do something that you resent, that you hate. So you can be this person and struggle and execute a lot of non-existing willpower and waste a lot of time because you'll be procrastinating the thing that you hate for as long as you can, because that's the natural thing. You hate it, so unless it's the deadline, you're not gonna do it. Or you can just trick yourself to start liking it. You're not gonna literally like the activity, but your brain will start associating that activity with feeling good if you begin the boring thing immediately after the good thing. And you have to be fast with this because the brain chemicals do not stay there forever. They decompose, so you have to be quick for this to work. And you may be wondering, okay, if they're not staying in my brain for long and if I do start my boring activity quickly, then after 30 minutes I'll be out of the good chemicals, right? Yes. The thing is though, we usually struggle the most with beginning. Once you start doing the thing already, you start feeling a bit better about it because the further you go into activity, the more you achieve from it, and then that builds other chemicals such as dopamine because you're achieving a task, right? But let's not make it complicated. Just remember, the hardest thing of anything is the beginning. So put yourself in a good mood and use that to your advantage. Now, let's say you don't have any self-discipline. And why am I saying this? It is because if you don't have self-discipline and you love playing video games, it will be very difficult for you to stop doing that activity after 30 minutes. You will end up indulging into the fun part and you'll never go back to your homework or work project. So if you think you can stop yourself, perfect, because this activity makes you happy and it's going to work the best. But for those of you who don't have that skill, I recommend you start doing something that you do enjoy doing, but it has a very clear end. For example, I don't know if you recognize the little garden here, but I have like 50 different plants in the house and I love taking care of them. So sometimes I'll literally just pick up 5 of them and I know I have to like fertilize them, change their pot, or like just do some work. And I know it's gonna take me around 30 minutes for those 5 guys to take care of them. And if I do this, and if I engage into that activity, I'm gonna feel really great. It does have a clear end because as long as I just choose 5 plans, they will be done in about 30 minutes. And then if I immediately go to, let's say, scripting a video, which I find tedious, that is going to be my way of putting myself in a good mood and getting the tedious tasks done. You can think about your own version of my plans, but that's the process. Now, brain hack number 2 is about chores, things that need to be done but do not require your full attention. Let's, for example, have Sarah. She doesn't like to cook at all, but she is trying to get into cooking because it's cheaper, it's kind of easier than going out and spending even more time on the whole activity. She just wants to eat something real quick, yet healthy and not too expensive. So cooking is kind of the way to do that, but she really does not like cooking at all. How can Sarah start cook more often, given that she has no willpower or motivation, she hates the activity, but it's kind of repetitive and it happens often? Well, Sarah needs to identify something else that she likes doing and only allow herself to do that other thing during cooking. Let's say Sarah loves to listen to a podcast. However, Sarah is also kind of ADHD, and if she's not doing something with her hands while listening to the podcast, she gets distracted. And also, she's kind of busy and she doesn't usually have a lot of time to do the podcast thingy. She wants to, but it's when, how, the whole thing, it's complicated. And she thinks, okay, well, I'm gonna combine my cooking with my podcasting because it's a win-win. On one hand, I'm gonna be more focused on the podcast if I'm doing something with my hands like cooking, and on the other hand, I can actually enjoy cooking a bit more because I'm gonna be doing something really enjoyable at the same time. And this is a brain hack that always works because your brain is not that smart. It doesn't really feel two different processes separately if you do them together. So if you are looking forward to your time to listen to a podcast, you build dopamine during the anticipation phase before you listen to the podcast. So you start to anticipate the activity. And yes, it's going to be combined with cooking, but your brain again is not that smart. So it's going to eventually start looking forward to cooking because this is the only time, and that's a key point for this to work. This is the only time when you give yourself that reward of listening to a podcast. So as long as you always do those things together, like you always give your brain the reward, meaning the podcast, and you never give yourself the reward outside of the cooking, this trick is going to always work. Eventually, you're not going to need any motivation or to force yourself to do the boring thing because your brain will not even think about it. It will be only thinking about the good stuff. Let me know if you try one of those tricks, and I'm sure that your experience will relate to other people. So if you comment, you're gonna satisfy my curiosity, but also you are going to help other people surely through your own experience. And if you're also interested in learning how to use dopamine to your advantage to achieve more with less motivation, then I recommend you this video, and well, I'll see you there.